Hi everyone! So we just finished reading The Hate U Give, and I wanted to take this opportunity to really unpack the elements and discuss what they do for the story as a whole. I want you to take a second and think about where you grew up. Was it Eau Claire? Was it a big city or a smaller town with a lot of farms? I also want you to think about the neighborhood you grew up in. Who else lived in that neighborhood? Who were your friends growing up? Who raised you? How did they raise you? And what are some experiences that you went through as a child? And how did you react or handle them? Who taught you how to react and handle them the way you did? All of this did and still affects you and your personal story. In The Hate U Give, we see all of those elements such as setting, character development, and conflict affect Star and her story. These are all literary elements or tools that an author can use to make a really impactful story, right? We can look at these ideas and analyze how they affect the story as a whole and really how they affect the reader and what the reader gets out of the story. Here are some questions that I want you to ponder. What makes you want to stick by the character's side throughout the story? What happens if you don't like the protagonist? What do you make of the story then? Also, you can consider the environment, the setting. Are the conflicts plausible in that specific setting? Also, do you see the same kind of conflicts in your life? What is different in your life compared to the life of the character? All of these critical questions are really important to think about. What if the aspects of the book, such as setting, character, conflicts, what if they don't mesh or go together? In the end, what would the reader actually get out of the book? As you were reading, I asked you to fill out Part A in the worksheet that just goes over the basic literary elements that we're looking at, such as setting, character, conflicts, and major themes. We are going to go through Part A together. I want you to be aware that what I'm going to say, these are not the only answers. I want you to beef up what you already have. You could add some things you missed, but there are other options that are as correct as these, okay? So for the setting, we could have Garden Heights, which is obviously where Star lives. And I do want you to add some detail. So for Garden Heights, we could say it's kind of poor, it's really prone to gang violence, and it's an urban setting. And on the other side of this, we can see the setting of the prep school that Star attends. This is undiverse, especially compared to Garden Heights. It's privileged and it's really expensive, and as Star describes, bougie. Moving on, we can start talking about the characters. To begin, we have our protagonist, Star. She's an African-American teenage girl. And the fact that she's African-American is important, and it's really the fire starter for a lot of the conflict and plot. As well, we have Khalil, who is her best friend, and we see him being notorious and being into really not good things, but we do see a lot of his personality shine through, especially in the scene where they get pulled over and how caring he is for Star and how worried he is about her. And along the same lines, we also have the officer who did the shooting. And some other characters that you could have mentioned, we have Star's parents. And the thing about them is they're really educated about the issues of oppression that they have to face on a daily basis. And they really make it their job to educate Star on those same things so that she really knows how to handle these situations. I'm just going to quickly run through a couple of the major conflicts in this book. So we have the shooting, which really a lot of the plot takes place around the shooting. We have all the riots that are happening because of the fight against police brutality. And we also have the fire caused by the family feud. And for themes that come to mind when you think about The Hate U Give, we have race and racism, injustice, activism, but also family and relationships. I'm going to give you a minute to finish filling out Part A. We're going to pause this video and then start it back up again when everybody's ready to move on to B and C. All right, welcome back. So we are going to take those same elements a step further. I want you to write down in part B the implications of these elements to the story, meaning the effects of those specific elements. And I want you to think about how they work with the story, if they work, why they work. You can even go more in depth than that and talk about how these elements affect you as the reader. Part B and then also part C you are going to do on your own at the end of this video. For part C, you are going to take one of those elements such as setting, character, conflict, and you're just going to change it. For instance, pretend that Star lives in Eau Claire and not Garden Heights. I want you to contemplate whether or not the story still works. What happens when you change that one thing? The point of this is to see how all those elements relate to each other. Authors have to make conscious decisions to make sure that the story is fluid and really says what the author wants it to. I want you to take the next 5 or so minutes and finish filling out B and C of this worksheet. When you're done, turn it in. And once everybody is completed, I want you to get into groups of 2 or 3 and just discuss your thoughts on the book. I want you to talk about whether or not you liked it, what you liked about it, what you didn't like about it, if you would recommend it to a friend, and maybe if you see these same issues that Star face in your own life. All right, get working.